Hey everyone, SweetJohnnyCage here, back with another guide for Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. This time I'm going to show you how to take down the very difficult dragon boss, Bayle the Dread. I did this using a heavy Uchi-Katana at plus 25, a plus 25 brass shield, as well as the Drake Knight set. The most important talismans in my setup would be the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, as well as the Pearl Drake Talisman plus 2. And then in my Wondrous Physic Flask, I have the Opaline Hard tier, which increases all damage negation, as well as the Crimson Crystal tier, which gives me half of my life bar back. Did this at 185 with a level 10 Scattertree Blessing and a level 6 Spirit Ash Blessing. In order to find this boss all the way at the top of the Jagged Peak, you want to follow this road from the start and then cross the bridge, turn towards the southeast, and then there is a hill that you can follow. If you go on the lower level, you'll find that forge, but on the upper level, you'll find the Dragon's Pit. That's a cave, and I'll trace this road again, so just go from the start, northwest, cross the bridge, and then go to the southeast, further south, and then you'll find the Dragon's Pit cave. When you defeat the boss of that cave, there is a door in the back. You want to open it, and then you will reach the Jagged Peak. And then it's a fairly linear path up the peak using jet streams with Torrent, crossing a few bridges, but eventually you will find this arena. This boss is incredibly tough. It took me 4 hours to do this without summoning Egon. There does not appear to be any big benefit to summoning Egon in terms of like storyline completion or anything. I believe it gives you the same result whether or not you summon him. That said, I did make a couple of attempts with summoning him, and he is quite helpful, so if you're not interested in soloing this, then summon him. His summon sign is right in front of the boss fog as you cross it. So his summon sign is within the arena, and you can actually summon him at any time. Alright, so my general strategy for this fight is to stay near the boss's tail, and that's for two reasons. One, it tends to make his AI kind of stall, and he will just kind of walk in circles for a little while. This will happen a lot less in Phase 2, but in Phase 1, he will kind of just let you do it. The other reason for that is because, very similar to Placidusax, he has a missing limb, and it's this left leg here. That missing limb is quite large, and it just has a really big hurt box, so you can actually just get really big swings on it, and you don't have to be super accurate. You'll notice throughout Phase 1, I am really hardly ever using lock-on. I typically do not use lock-on in dragon fights, and that's because, especially in the case of Bayle the Dread, they fly around a lot, it causes the camera to freak out, and their most vulnerable positions are not in line with the camera. The camera is always going to hook up to its face, which is helpful to recenter yourself, but I really, really recommend not locking on. In Phase 1, the boss can do that big leap. That dodge timing is very difficult. You want to wait until he's in the air. He will stall in the air for a hot second, and then he will drop. You really only have a few frames to react to the drop, so it's just something that you unfortunately have to get used to. I was never able to really react to it. I just kind of memorized the timing, but that is a really, really important move to dodge. You can block it, but even at a plus 25 shield and like a 40 or 50 endurance rating, you're going to get completely stunned while blocking, so it's really, really important to learn that timing. Luckily, the boss doesn't do it too often, at least I found in my 4 hours of attempts. It really didn't happen all that often in Phase 1, but by the time I was getting close to killing this boss, Phase 1 wasn't lasting very long. So he has a breath attack. That breath attack is both fire and lightning, and weirdly, the lightning can arc, and there's really no clean method to dodging, at least that I could find. What I will typically do with that forward-facing breath is I will run to the left or just roll to the left, and then I will typically be able to dodge it like 9 times out of 10. So we have the boss down to about 50%. This is when the phase is going to transition. I am using Cragblade, although this is barely going to do anything. While the boss is transitioning, he will spawn fireballs as he flies around, and you'll notice that I am locking on while the boss is doing this. In Phase 2, while the boss is in the air, highly, highly recommend locking on, because when he's up in the air, you don't have to control the camera, and then you're able to better time and position yourself for dodging. So when he's in the air, lock on, otherwise don't bother. Typically, whenever the boss has some sort of physical hit combo, he's going to end that combo by looking down and breathing straight down. This breath actually doesn't last as long as you think it might. However, the startup on it, like that intro flame damage, is very strong, and you have to get out of there. It is not something that you can really roll through. So once you see the boss sort of get in that hunched over position and begin breathing, you have to get out. You have to get out even before he starts breathing. This is really tricky though, because like I said, the general strategy that I'm recommending to you is to attack his tail and his broken leg. When you're doing that, you can't exactly see what the boss is doing. And so you have to just kind of get used to the timing, only go in for a few attacks, and then sort of turn the camera around, rotate it a little bit, and then see what he's doing. If he's about to start breathing, then you want to move. That ability right there, that is really easily telegraphed, that charge. The way you can tell that that's happening, the telegraph, is he will sort of hunch on one leg, face very straight, and then go. And you can either roll backward or forward to dodge that. I actually recommend rolling backward if you can time it, because that will put you in a bit of a better position to catch up with him. The follow-up to that attack is a backwards tail swipe, so he'll actually like step backwards and then swing around really fast. You can dodge that. In Phase 2, I do not recommend following that up with more attacks. Instead, just let him do it, dodge, and then wait. Just get close to him and wait. I do not recommend sort of trying for follow-ups in the same ways that you would in Phase 1 while in Phase 2, because he's a lot faster in Phase 2. In Phase 2, he has a lot of these big, major explosion attacks. Whenever you see the boss sort of sprout these white, ghostly wings, that means he's going to go up in the air, or he could do some big explosion attack. So just keep that in mind. Whenever you see those wings sprout, lock onto him and get ready for him to move or do some massive, massive damage. The big earthquake ability, that can be jumped, which is really nice. You don't have to try to dodge roll it. You do have to time the jump. However, it's not too bad. So I am up against a wall here, which I really do not recommend. There's that backwards tail swipe that I was talking about. I don't recommend getting near walls. You can't always avoid it, and I'm certainly going to be doing it in this fight. However, you want to try your best to stay in the middle of this arena and give yourself as much room to work with. The reason for that is because the boss can, at times, hunker down and prepare these big AoE explosions. And if you're up against a wall, you're going to have really difficult time getting out in time to dodge the damage. Okay, so these lightning bolt attacks, you don't have to run. You can actually just walk. As long as you manage to dodge the first one while walking away, you'll dodge the rest. It's kind of similar to Elden Stars in that once you kind of get moving in one direction, it'll avoid you for the most part. That said, if you manage to get hit by one of them, it will knock you down. You want to just spam roll your way up, and then you will avoid the rest. This huge beam has a very specific dodge timing. You want to roll into the flame the first time. For the second flame, the vertical slice, you want to roll to the right as soon as it's about to hit you, and then just keep holding right on the stick, and then dodge a second later. You need to move out of the way of the explosion and then roll away from it. If you just roll twice, if you just roll to dodge the vertical beam and then immediately roll again, you're gonna get lifted up in the explosion. So what you want to do is you want to roll once to dodge the beam itself from coming toward you, roll to the right, and then just hold right on the left stick, and then dodge again. So you gotta kind of time that. It's a little weird, but it's very reliable to do it that way. All right, so this is one of those big hunker down moments. You see that he's near the wall, so if I had been on his right side, I probably would not have escaped that. So again, this is the beam one more time. You want to roll into the first one, sort of up and to the left, and then for the second one, you want to roll, walk to the right, and then roll again, and you'll dodge it no problem. This big slam with his right broken wing talon thing, when he slams that down, you want to pay very close attention to the floor, because there are geysers that will show up, and you don't have to like go crazy. You could literally just walk away from them. But when you see that talon about to slam down, pan the camera down and look at the floor very closely. This way you know where not to be. Okay, so we are whittling the boss down here. I am doing my best not to be greedy. Like I said, I fought this guy for 4+ hours before actually getting a kill on him. That big slam attack, you basically have to be ready for it. As soon as you see him hunkering down, you've got to run away. if you're not at max distance by the time he even is about to explode, chances are you're going to get hit. You can roll through it. I've done it once. It is extremely difficult. I never relied on that, but you can dodge it if you have to. Just sort of wait for the dragon itself to begin to rise and sort of explode. Like the floor explodes with him as he's rising. So wait for him to begin rising and then roll, and you should be able to dodge it. It's very, very difficult though. Unfortunately, the boss can repeat that phase transition flying around move. The fireballs that are part of that ability, for me, are kind of difficult to reliably dodge. What I was doing in some attempts was rolling to the right to dodge the first one, and then rolling forward to dodge the second one, and then just rolling to the right continuously and dodging the other ones. So it's really just those first two that you really have to work on timing. Once you manage to dodge those two, you can dodge the rest no problem. They just sort of fall into time. Okay, so we are again whittling the boss down here. Here's that big overhead slam. I'm just watching the floor. Luckily, all the explosions were behind me, so I was able to get some good damage on the tail. The interesting thing about the tail is that you can actually walk through a giant section of it towards the tip. The base of it is solid, but the sort of back half of it is actually hollow. It's weird. You can see my model is just walking through the tail. It still takes damage. It still has a valid hitbox and hurtbox, but you can actually walk through it. That's really nice for the lightning storms. What I recommend doing, though, is just in case you are sort of at the point where that collision is no longer there versus there, like if you're at that midpoint, jump over the tail to escape. You have plenty of time with these lightning strikes, the ones that trail you. You have plenty of time with them, and you can just jump and walk, and you'll be fine. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to go crazy with it, but feel free to jump over the tail to give yourself better spacing when trying to dodge things. And that's it. That is Bayle the Dread. Again, feel free to summon Egon. He is very strong. He uses a great bow and can deal some serious damage. It can also get Egon off of you, which is quite nice as well. But if you're like me, you want to solo it, you don't want to use magic or Ashes of War, you just want to go 1D with a dragon, go for it. Everything's valid, though. Kill him how you got to kill him. You get the same result in the end. But that's it. All right, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. I'll do my best to help you out. If you're looking for more guides for Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, please subscribe to the channel so you get alerted when new guides go live. If you're interested in supporting the channel monetarily, please consider becoming a channel member by clicking the join button below this video. You can also leave a super thanks by clicking the heart icon below this video. Don't forget to join my community Discord. The link for that is in the description below. As always, I'm SweetJohnnyCage. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.